Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you so much for tuning into the Resume Masterclass. It is a pleasure to have everyone in here because I have heard the cries and I know that we are struggling about this resume. So, if you've been applying for jobs and you have gotten little to no interviews, or you're just kind of feeling like you need to change some things up, and that's what brought you here, I'm so glad you found this. And if you find it helpful, make sure that you share this with someone else as well so that they can be blessed too, so that they're not falling behind or by the wayside when it comes to a resume. Now, I know that when we hear resumes, it really just, for some people, it can be annoying. And for some people, it really just makes you want to like give up completely. Like you don't even want to try. You probably find yourself saying things like, maybe it's not for me, or now it's not the time, or whatever the case is. I am here to tell you that that is not the case. If your resume is causing this you to feel this way, we're gonna fix it today. So I just want to take maybe about 35 to 40 minutes of your time. I really don't want to keep you here that long, so I do have a timer going because I'm going to hold myself to that. So that means we're going to breeze right through this content. But of course, you can, take screenshots and all that different stuff so that way you can have it later. And if you are tuning in on your lunch break or at work or whatever the case is, I appreciate you and I see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to really, really put yourself first, because that's exactly what we're going to do in this session. And yeah, let's do it. Let's rock out and just learn what we need to know about resumes and all that good stuff. So who am I, right? Who am I to talk about resumes? Who am I to be sitting in front of you saying, do this with your resume. Don't do that with your resume. Well, I'll tell you who I am, but I'll keep it very brief. This is not my first go around when it comes to talking about resumes. I have presented to thousands of job seekers. I have coached thousands of job seekers and practically reverse engineered hundreds upon hundreds of resumes to help job seekers regain their confidence. So I do have my bachelor's and master's in business administration with a concentration in human resource management. And then I also have my HR certification offered by the Society for Human Resource Management. But none of that stuff matters. The fact that I have worked on hundreds upon hundreds and coached thousands upon thousands of students and job seekers on their resumes, this is why I'm here. I have interviewed for positions such as Chief Operating Officer. I have interviewed for positions such as HR Director, Program Manager, Program Director, Assistant Director. I've held some of these positions. So I am sitting in this seat truly coming to you from a standpoint of I've been there. So I'm not going to give you things that I have not practiced myself. I'm not going to give you things that um, I've done and didn't work. Like I'm giving you the things and tools that I really believe in and the things that I have put into practice and have actually seen them be very fruitful. So we are going to be unpacking all of these things, right? So we're going to talk about all of the things that I've seen in my practice for the last 5 years. And then you might be wondering, okay, I signed up. What can I reasonably expect to learn today? So here's what we're going to cover. I got you covered. So of course we're going to look at the number one mistake that's keeping you stuck in your job search process. So we are not going to be coloring outside the lines today. Today we are going to shoot straight for it. We're going to talk about the number one thing that's keeping you stuck, and trust me, it's not going to be a surprise. And we're also going to talk about how to position yourself for leadership opportunities, even if you don't have the title. So I know someone watching this has been feeling inadequate, right? Has been feeling like there is no hope in how can I ever become a manager if no one takes a chance on me, or if I've never had the experience of being a manager. We're going to talk about that. It's something that you have to be very intentional about, and we will definitely cover that. And then of course we are going to discuss a simple framework that successful people use to make their resume stand out every single time. And I know there's someone watching probably like saying it's not that simple. No, things really can be that simple. So I'm going to challenge you to listen with an open mind and open heart and receive this information and truly, truly go back out and put this into practice. Because let's be honest, if you're here watching this, then obviously you're here for a reason. And I don't want you to walk away from this experience not um, not feeling like you can put these things into practice. So we are going to talk about how that looks and what you should be doing. Okay. But first, I also want to mention that I did offer a resume workbook. So if you have not grabbed the resume workbook, I don't know what you're waiting on. I did put the QR code right there so that if you want to go and grab it while it is still $7, you can go and do that. I do know some of my fellow people who follow me on Instagram, they watched my story and they were able to get a code for a free one. So shout out to you all for being loyal watchers. And if you're watching this and you don't follow me on Instagram, you might want to head on over to at career queen underscore Arrianna so that you could be in the loop, because I do give away things from time to time and I do give back to my fellow subscribers and watchers and things of that sort. So if you are not in that inner circle yet, you better head on over there because you don't want to miss out on the next freebie. Okay. But there's still time for you to grab this workbook while you are here watching this workshop. So if you wanted to do that, go ahead and scan that QR or type in the URL that you see at the bottom, tinyurl.com/masterclass guides. That is where you can find that offered. Okay. So let's get to it. Your resume is your first impression. Make sure it's a strong one by focusing on clarity, relevance, and measurable achievements. I cannot stress this enough. This is as simple as it's going to get. If I have to send a document to someone, and in order for them to decide if they want to even entertain me, I better make sure that it's a good one, right? I better make sure that what I'm putting on this paper is meaningful and that it's impactful and that it's relevant, right? We don't want to send them things that they can't understand or they can't use. I say this so many times on a weekly basis to all of my coaching students. And I say, okay, if I look at this resume, I don't know what type of skills you have. If I look at this resume, I can't really tell what you're trying to do, right? You're just telling me duties. You're not actually even telling me the things that you should be telling me. So we're gonna cut that out, right? And I have a list of things for you to stop doing. If you are doing any of these 10 things, please, I'm going to beg you to consider stop doing them as soon as possible, like now. And hopefully you're watching this with your resume up on another screen or splitting screen. I don't know what you're doing, but hopefully you're taking the things off and you're stopping, you're going to put it to use. I hope. So some of these things that you need to stop doing are using unprofessional email addresses. Now, I know someone's probably watching this going, well, who's still doing that? Let me tell you, a lot of people are still using unprofessional email addresses. And let me be honest, we we are not just talking about the hotgirl362 at gmail.com. We're not just talking about those. We're talking about ones that may not even say your name. They may just say something like artist 325, right? That's still unprofessional, even if you're applying for an art job. Why? That email address is not identifiable to who you are. And why would you want to risk your future employer seeing this and not being sure that that's even your email address so then they don't reach out? Would you really want to miss an opportunity because they were not sure that that was your email address? So come on now, let's be grown-ups, let's be adults, and let's make sure that we are using professional email addresses, okay? Stop using objective statements. Now, please don't come for me. I know someone watching this is probably going to be like, what? Now, let me be clear. I am referring to objective statements that says seeking a cashier job, seeking an opportunity to blah, blah, blah. They don't care what you are seeking. Most people opt for a summary statement, or if they keep an objective, what they do is turn it into a summary statement with an objective sentence. So I have several examples of what that looks like, and I am more than happy to walk through it with anyone if you're watching this, because it is very important that you are not putting forth everything you want to do and that you are looking for. You are supposed to be telling the company how you can be of value to them. And if you are not doing that, they're not trying to hear it. Okay. Stop including irrelevant job experience. A lot of times we all, have jobs and we feel valued, right? We feel like that experience was great and that we may have done some good things. But if it's not relevant to what you're applying for, unfortunately, you need to omit it. You need to minimize it, right? So if you're applying for a job where they need to see your entire work history, then yes, obviously you would need to include that because that is what they asked for. However, if you're trying to apply for a position and maybe you're sending your resume out or you are posting it on like job boards, then you would want to omit irrelevant job experience on those resumes. Why? Because you do not have an opportunity to explain anything. And you don't want to be put in the position where your resume is constantly being rejected because there's a lot of space being taken up for irrelevant things. Now, you can also identify your transferable skills within these irrelevant job experiences. However, I do recommend that you be very, very modest when you do that because you could find yourself having like a 2 to 3 page resume if you don't watch it. So I'll always say to stop including irrelevant job experience. And even if you have a job where the experience is relevant, I'm sure that there are some bullet points that you can omit from that one section. So trust me when I say there's a lot of things we can do to a resume to really, really level it up. Stop listing job duties as bullet points. We're gonna stop that. In 2025, we're gonna stop that. I don't want to see another resume that says maintain the clean work area. Who cares? I mean, yeah, we all want people who are clean, but are we really taking up space on the resume for things like that? Are we really taking up space for things that says, cash handling cash at the cash register? Are we really saying it like that? So your job is to make sure your bullet points tell a story. It tells them exactly your involvement, your impact, and how that contributed to the overall benefit of the role, the department, the company, so forth. So we don't need another job description on your resume. We need actionable achievements that can be measured. Okay. And that goes without saying that numbers are important too. Stop using overused buzzwords. So we all have our own industries and our own niche where the buzzwords are different acronyms and different things that just mean something to us, right, or to you and your people in that field. But if you overuse them, then your resume becomes a little bit inauthentic, right? There's not one person who can overuse or use buzzwords that are overused and then come across as an authentic resume, because now it's like you're trying too hard to incorporate this word multiple times or these group of words multiple times, and it doesn't really hold any weight. So anytime you are using an industry word or a buzzword, you better make sure that you are using them reasonably and that they are applicable to the items that are around them. So you shouldn't just be using them just because they match your industry, because now you're being inauthentic and it's not being very like they can't really tell what it is you're trying to tell them by using that word. Stop using dense blocks of text, please. So dense blocks of text is where you look at a piece of the resume and it's like word heavy. Like it just looks like a bunch of black, right? Lines, 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 lines of black. Stop using dense blocks of text. Your text needs to be textured, broken. It needs to be formatted. So if you've got your, and I'm going to use this really quick. Let's say you've got your name here at the top, your contact information, you've got your header, you've got the piece of that, then you've got your bullet points, right? You see how that text is broken up? We've got all these different lines. We're not creating everything in a stack and everything's going straight across, right? So on the contrary, what you want to avoid is text that looks like this. Like it's just lines, 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 lines. We don't want to do that, right? And forgive me, y'all. This is my first time using this little feature, but I thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, you don't want to use or do your text just like this. You want to make sure that you are creating an area of brokenness where they can easily identify the sections of your resume. Okay, you don't want to overwhelm them before they even get started reading. So keep that in mind, that this is a human And humans don't really like to read. And if you create this big blocks of text like that, they're going to say, I don't have time for this. And they're going to be on to the next one. Okay. Stop overloading your resume with graphics and fancy designs. So a lot of people love templates, and one comes to mind. So I'm currently drinking an Olipop. I don't know if y'all can see that. Yeah, an Olipop. I love Olipop. If I can drink it every day, I would. Some of you might say, why can't you? I'll let you go look it up and find out. But anyway, I came across this resume on LinkedIn a long time ago, about a year ago. And this person had done an Olipop resume. They were directly targeting the company, Olipop, uh, to potentially get hired. And while the resume was beautifully designed, it matched Olipop's brand, and it's, something entertaining to talk about. Unfortunately, I don't endorse resumes like that. That's a resume I'd print out and say, don't do. So while it's circulating on LinkedIn and all of this other stuff, these articles, and like I said, it looks so pretty, but I'm not going to ever recommend any of my students do something like that, because you are now branding yourself to that company. And if you've got to go that far, if this isn't an artistic job where you're actually showcasing your skill set to get the job, then we're not going to do that. So this would be a completely different story if this resume was to showcase artistic ability for like a marketing position or a graphic design position. That would be perfect. But if this is for any other type of professional role that does not include design or marketing, then I would never recommend a resume such as that one. And the designs and the templates that people have their resumes in has to stop. I'm sorry if you are watching this and you have a template that you've been using, you've been sticking to, but you're here watching because you haven't been getting interviews. Let's attack that. Okay. So don't say I didn't tell you, but it's a chance that your resume isn't making it past the ATS, and that's an applicant tracking system for those who don't know. Okay. So all these fancy designs and these graphics and icons and images, and we have to stop that. These are professional documents. It should be in black and white or dark colors. We should make sure that everything's legible. We don't want any pictures, icons, or graphics. We can keep things professional so long as you do that. But the moment that you add these graphics and these things back in, kind of lose that balance there, okay? Stop including personal information. This is another one that people probably are saying, like, do we still have to say this? Yes, we still have to say this. I see resumes on a weekly basis. Yes, we still have to say this because people are proud of who they are, right? And as you should be. But you have to also remember that the person that's reading your information doesn't know who you are, and you are giving them a reason to discriminate against you. So we don't talk about our personal information on our resumes. We don't talk about our nationalities, our religion, and our familial things. We don't talk about those things on resumes. None of those things should be there. Hobbies. A lot of people still put hobbies on resumes, and we're going to stop that too, because some of your hobbies could also say a lot about you. And I'm not one to judge. Your hobby is your hobby. But if you want it to get in the way of you getting an opportunity, then go ahead and put it on your resume. But if you want to keep an unbiased opinion and view of you when people are reviewing your resume, then you might want to take that off, because that doesn't actually help them gauge whether you know how to do the job or not. So if you ask me, well, what should be on my resume? Things that help them understand that you know how to do the job. If your item on your resume, regardless of what it is, does not pass that test, then it doesn't need to be on there. Okay? That's just my philosophy. Take it or leave it. Number 9, stop including references upon requests. Please. If they want references up front, they will ask for them, or they will be a part of the application, or they will give you a heads up to let you know that they will ask. You do not need to take up a line on your resume saying this, nor should you take up multiple lines on your resume, including the references. Got it? Okay. I have seen this, yes, not that long ago, and quite a few times. And we're going to stop doing that because your resume is a document about you and you only. Saying references upon request available, whatever, that does nothing. If they want to hire you based on what they see on your resume, they will ask you for your references, whether it's on the application or whether they give you the heads up. So we don't have to try to think ahead and say this. They're going to follow their process. They have a process to follow. They're going to follow it, okay? Just know that they're going to follow their process. You don't have to try to think ahead for them. And last but not least, stop using the same resume for every job application, please. Okay? We're going to talk about why you should stop doing that. Because if you are doing that and you're here, I'm really glad you're here. Number one, I'm so glad that if you're doing this and you're here, I'm glad. But yeah, we're going to have to rethink that a little bit. 75% of resumes never get reviewed or read by a human. And this was by the yahoo.com finance department. And here's how we're going to make sure that your resume gets reviewed. So, of course, I'm not going to drop these little nuggets of information and not tell you how we're going to overcome this, right? So we are going to talk about making sure your resume gets read by humans. And it starts with the framework. So I have a success framework that I promised that I would tell y'all about. And it's very simple. So the success framework equals clarifying your target, making sure that you know exactly what you are trying to do. If you try to make a one size fit all resume, you will fail. Okay. So just like I said, right here, stop using the same resume for every job. You want to make sure that you are being very specific and that you're targeting. Plus, align your content. Okay. So we can't have a tailored resume without aligning our content to the actual job posting. I always tell my students, look at the job description. Once you have read it and understand it and would like to apply for it, turn it into a checklist. That job description now serves as a checklist in terms of what you have on your resume and what needs to be added. So if the job description says in the responsibilities, will complete trainings or will conduct trainings, then now you need to ask yourself, is this on my resume? And if it's not, you need to figure out how you're going to get it there. And if you can't get it there, meaning you can't think of any way you've trained somebody or whatever, and you absolutely cannot get that on your resume, just know now you're deducting points from your qualifications or eligibility. Okay. So this is basically how I teach students to score themselves on their qualifications, because the worst thing you can do is apply for a job thinking that you're qualified and you're not, and then you're wondering why you didn't get an interview. So let's remember that. Okay. So far we have the success framework equals clarifying your target plus aligning your content, plus we're also going to optimize for the ATS and for humans. Again, ATS is applicant tracking system. That is exactly where you go to apply for these jobs. So if you go to walmart.com and go to careers, they have an ATS. If you go to Deloitte, they have an ATS. Okay. That's what makes their jobs easier and more organized and efficient. So use keywords naturally and structure with clear headings and make it skimmable for recruiters. This is so important. I cannot stress how important this is. I've seen so many resumes where good content is buried. And when I say buried, I mean buried, like you will probably never notice unless you read every single line thoroughly. And we can't have that. If you are applying for a job and you have your skills structured in a way where the most important ones are toward the end or the bottom, then we need to change that. If you're applying for a job where the duties that you have that match the job description are the fourth and fifth bullet point, we need to change that. They need to be the first and second bullet point. We need to make sure it is easily skimmable for a recruiter. If a recruiter is recruiting for a specific position, let's say they're looking for a marketing person, they're going to be looking for these keywords that stand out in the field of marketing, design, and all of this good stuff. And if you have it hidden, you are hurting your chances. Okay. All of your good things, relatable things, need to be easily found. And I've even seen some people bold it so that you can't miss it. And we could work through those too, because I love looking at resumes where the keywords are there. It draws my attention and I read it. And if it's doing that to me, it's doing that to plenty of other people, especially people who look at resumes every day. Okay. And lastly, showcase your value. What's a resume telling me what you've done without telling me how valuable it was? Can you imagine supervising, let's just say, 5 people or more, and never actually talking about the great things you've accomplished as a leader over 5 people? Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. If you're not showcasing your value, then why should they think that you're valuable? If I don't tell you that I'm valuable, why would you ever think that I'm valuable? If I don't ever show you I'm valuable, why would you ever think that I'm valuable, right? So you catch my drift. If I'm not showing you or telling you, you will never know that I'm valuable. You can't just look at me and go, oh, she's valuable. I mean, I may, look valuable, but seriously though, you get where I'm going, right? Like you have to put it in their face. Like you cannot allow them to assume. And I always tell my students, if you allow them to assume, they will assume the wrong thing, and that's your fault. So the success framework equals clarify your target plus align your content plus optimize for ATS and humans plus showcase your value. With these 4 things, this can guarantee you success in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Okay. So, what's the number one mistake that people are making on their resume? This mistake is the reason your resume doesn't make it past the ATS. This mistake is the reason your resume hasn't been seen by a human. It's also the reason that you don't receive calls for interviews. Little to none. Remember that. It's the reason that you feel like your job search is a complete waste of time. And I really hate that for you. But it's also the reason you probably want to give up. And I really, really feel for those who feel these last 2 points. Why? Because job searching shouldn't be this hard. I know it shouldn't be. And the way the world is, it has made it this hard. And I'm sorry for that. I'm going to apologize. I know I can't change it, but I am sorry that the world that we live in now has made job searching this hard when companies are posting these jobs, which makes us think they need these people and then they ghost us or they're not calling or whatever the case is. They're not even reviewing it. They're letting the computer do it. And then it just makes you want to give up. I feel that. I felt that in my soul. But hear me when I tell you, after coaching thousands of students, whether it be individual, in groups, the number one mistake that people are making, and it's so simple, they're not tailoring their resume. So many people sit behind a phone or a computer and they just send the same resume. They keep applying after applying after applying, and it's a clockwork. And then Indeed and LinkedIn has made it easier for you to do that. And you just keep applying and applying and applying with the same resume. And I know I get it. Like I said, I've been there. It is easy to just click that same resume, hit apply, easy apply. It's so easy. But I'm telling you, that hurts your chances more than ever. The reason you should not be doing that is because if the job description changes, no matter how big or how small, so should your resume, no matter how big or how small. I don't care if you had 2 job descriptions for 2 different companies, and one, they had the same thing, but one valued Microsoft and then the other valued Google. Guess what you need to do on your resume? Flip it. On one version, it needs to show that Microsoft is one of your first skills or top skills, even though you know how to do both. And then for the other one, you need to flip it. And Google needs to be first. Why? Because you are speaking their language. We need to get out of the mindset of trying to do us and speak our language when you want their job. Let that sink in. I'm gonna take a second. And I'm gonna say it again. We need to get out of the mindset of wanting to do us when we want their job, because they're the ones that make the decision. And if you're not willing to play ball, then you're going to always be in the same exact spot. Okay? Don't say I didn't tell you. So, yes, this is the number one resume mistake that people are making. So, for my people who are ready to be a leader, and maybe you just haven't had the chance to have that title yet, or have the actual job description, to do things and be a leader, but you want to somehow leverage what you have done or is currently doing so that you can position yourself for that, I got something for you. So, there are several ways we can look at this, right? But I've narrowed it down to about 4 different ways. And one of them being highlight your leadership actions and not titles. So a lot of us think, oh, I don't have the title, so I can't apply, or oh, they'll see my title and then they'll just throw it away. That's not necessarily true. We all know that people are doing way more than their job description. That's everybody everywhere. It's not just you, it's not just your company, it's everyone everywhere. We're all doing more or beyond our actual duties. So it is your job to showcase your leadership actions, irrespective of the title. Okay. Use leadership verbs. So, an example of this would be saying things like efficiency and increasing, things that can show them that you have this experience, even though the title is non existent. You still have done the duties that make this worthy of being looked at for a leadership role. Emphasize collaboration and influence. So if you've done anything with a different department, maybe you've worked together on an initiative where you guys can increase efficiency or streamline communications or processes or whatever that looks like, talk about it, right? Instead of saying that you are a team member, instead of just saying worked with, say collaborated with cross departments to streamline communication. Do you see how much more powerful that is? Other than just saying worked with other departments. That's so bland. And if you have that on your resume, I am no shade. I am not trying to come for you. I'm just being honest, right? From a person who has seen all of these resumes, there is a serious problem with how we are communicating and articulating our work, and we have to stop. Okay. So, a quick time check. We are at 33 minutes. So, I am making it. Okay. So, the last one is to show measurable impact. Again, the last thing you would want to happen is to say you did all this stuff, but you don't tell them the impact or the value. So, there's a four-part question that I ask myself and that I tell my students to ask themselves when they are developing the bullet points. The questions are, why did I do it? How did I do it? How many were involved? And what was the impact? If your bullet point, and I'm talking one bullet point, not all, one, if one bullet point cannot answer those 4 things, we need to seriously think about if we should have that bullet point there. Or how can we add these things? Because most times you can add this information in. In my experience, when I test those 4 questions against one bullet point, we end up being able to add this information, and that creates a more descriptive bullet point. But if there is a reason that you cannot add these things, then you need to consider taking it down, because there is no substance that someone can get when those bullet points don't answer those questions. So again, it is, why did I do this? How did I do this? How many were involved? This gives us a chance to put numbers. And the last one is, what was the impact? And that goes right into this last point, to show measurable impact. If you don't show the measurable impact, they will assume that it was not valuable. And guess what? Tossed. Okay. So you're probably saying, okay, I heard you. I heard you loud and clear. I heard everything you had to say. I see all the content. I took my screenshots. What do I do next? What is next in the next 24 hours? How can I make this come to life? How can I perfect this resume so that I can start sending it out? Maybe you have a job in the, the vote that you want to apply to right now, but you were waiting to put your best foot forward. Okay. What do you do next in or what do you do in the next 24 hours, right? So here's what you're going to do. I want you to remember the things that you should stop doing. I'm not going to go back, but I want you to remember no personal information, no unprofessional email addresses, no references upon requests. We want to remove the things that are irrelevant to you being qualified for the job. Okay. I don't care if you have to go line by line on your resume and ask yourself, how is this relevant? How is this relevant? How is this relevant? If you can't find the relevancy, delete it. Okay. Your name is obviously relevant because they need to know who you are. Your contact information is obviously relevant because if they wanted to contact you, they need to know how. So you see what I mean here? Like, it's that simple. If it's not relevant, take it off. Okay. That's one thing that you need to do in the next 24 hours. The second thing that you need to do in the next 24 hours is to take your resume out of any templates. If it's in a template or has some designs on it, icons. And when I say icons, I'm talking like when people put the little mail icon and the little phone icon, take that stuff off. If your resume is in a template, if it has designs, take it off. And I'll be honest, you might have a lot of work to do if you have to take your resume out of a template. And this is why I always advise never starting with a template. But hey, here we are. So that's two things. The third thing you can do is give yourself grace. Because after you make all of those changes, you're going to be worn out and you're probably going to still feel like giving up. But you need to give yourself grace and to know that you don't have to land a job right this second. If you are in a situation where maybe you are unemployed and you do need to land a job, then obviously, this is a little different for you. But if you are employed and you are just looking for your next opportunity, maybe you're in a very toxic situation, still give yourself grace because you are not Captain America or Miss America. Like, you can't fix it all and you can't fix it right away. At the end of the day, the company owns the job. And when they're ready to play ball, they will play ball. But you need to be ready when they're ready to play ball, because if you're not, you are going to get left behind. Okay. So those are the things that you can do in the next 24 hours to make the most of this information that you are receiving today. But of course, if you're ready to take it a step further, you do not have to do this alone. Let me be very, very, very clear. You do not have to do this alone by yourself. I know a lot of people who go through life thinking that they are on their own and that no one understands and that this is too much work. And let me just tell you, you don't have to do it by yourself. Okay? That is why people like me exist. I eat, sleep, and breathe career coaching. I career coach students on a daily basis. I career coach family members on a daily basis or weekly basis. This is something that I feel that I was born to do. And I didn't realize it until I got into the field. And let me tell you, I have worked with students. I actually just a second ago, I got some really good news from a student who had finally got an opportunity that she was looking for. And it made my day. Another student that I'm working with has gotten several interviews and it started to look like it was shaky, right? I hear you. You don't have to do it by yourself. And that is exactly why I have created an exclusive coaching program for those who are looking for the direct support, looking for that accountability, and really just truly wanting to connect with strategies and ways that they could keep leveling up their job search, their careers, right? It doesn't have to just be about finding a job. Maybe you just feel like you're in a job and you're struggling a little bit. You need a little bit of career development. We can talk about that too. So what's in it for you, right? You get direct resume support because that's why we're here today. We're looking at resumes. So if you are struggling with your resume, you will get direct resume support. In fact, it is a requirement that my students show their resume, because why are we here if we cannot make sure your resume is top tier, okay? You will also have unlimited chat and questions. So once you enroll into the program, you will have free range to message and send all your questions, and I will answer them within 24 hours. So you don't have to worry about trying to get us the session and schedule and all that stuff. Just send your message when you're ready. You can send it at 3 a.m. Just give me 24 hours and I'll respond to you. So I do have response windows where I'll respond back to all of the questions and things that I get. And the best part about it is it's all in a group, which means that you get to see other people's questions and my responses, and they get to see yours. So we're all helping each other. Okay. And then we'll have weekly virtual check-ins. There'll be a specific time of day and time, week, and then you'll be able to come in and virtually and ask whatever questions you have. We can do a little powwow and just give some quick updates so you can figure out how to move forward, right? You don't have to continuously wait for a new session. You could just pop in and say, I have an interview tomorrow. Like, what tips do you have, right? Something as simple as that. But having that in your back pocket is so important, because you don't really realize what you need until it's too late and it's kind of last minute. So that's the beauty of this. But you'll also get free guides and templates. So the guide that I'm offering for this particular masterclass, things like that, you would get for free actually when you do enroll into the program. So if there are any other webinars that I end up doing, you get to automatically come for free, and then you'll get the guide as well to go with it. So lots of perks there. And then of course you'll get that community of like-minded people. That is something that is so slept on, because I don't know about you, but I would love to be in the room or virtually, for that matter, around people who are thinking just like me, trying to do the same things that I'm trying to do, because that creates this sense of belonging, and that creates this motivation that is so powerful, that literally propels us into our next phase of life. So honestly speaking, this is something that, a lot of people don't think about, but it could be very, very beneficial to your future. So of course, spots are limited. When we do programs like this, it can't be everybody in one place, and it just creates chaos. So spots are truly, truly limited, okay? And that means that you have to register as soon as possible to make sure you secure your spot. And then from there, you would be able to just enroll monthly. And if you're not feeling it the next month, no obligation, no harm, no foul. Okay. This is a month by month thing where you get all of this access. Okay. So you can scan the QR code, but let me tell you, because I know y'all see that 197 is crossed off, because you are here today, because you are here and you have made it to the very end of this session. First of all, I am proud of you for sticking around and truly, truly listening to all of the tips that I had to offer, because I put my time and effort into this to let y'all know exactly what you should be doing on your resume. Now, obviously, this was a surface level session because I had a lot of things to cover at once, but when you need that direct support, just know it's available. So because you are here and you watch to the end, guess what? I have given you $50 off, and I have dropped the price to $147. So if you are truly in need of career coaching and truly in need of somebody in your corner that you could pick that phone up, send that message, and know that you're going to get that response so that you could feel confident moving into your next step or walking into that interview or whatever the case is, this program is for you, okay? So for a limited time only, I have given $50 off to those who have watched this far. So all you need to do is scan this QR code and you'll be able to register for the program directly. It'll take you straight to the page, and all you have to do is sign up, and then I will contact you from there and let you know all of the steps and all of the areas where you need to be so that you could get the help you need ASAP. Okay. And I'm a person of efficiency, which means that the moment you're getting enrolled, you will get an automated email that will give you all of the details that you need to know. Because if you have a question that you want to ask as soon as possible, I would like you to do that. Okay. So please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out if you have questions. You can always go to my website, which is careerqueenarianna.com, and go to the contact form and just submit your questions. And I'm pretty responsive. I always have my notifications on my phone, so I'll be seeing things and I'll be reaching out just to answer your question or whatever the case is. But I really do hope to see some of you all enroll into the program so that we can make sure your resumes are good to go. Okay, so Again, I'm proud of you for making it this far and for taking the time out of your day to really listen to this information. And I really hope that you leave with something feeling very, very helpful, feeling like you can do this. And if you need that extra push, just know I'm here. And yeah, I will definitely catch you guys on another masterclass. This is not going to be the last one. I'm definitely going to do more resume master classes, like a part 2 or something. And I'm also going to do a few other master classes on different topics because I do realize that people struggle with a lot of different areas of job search, like interviews and all that stuff. So definitely going to be doing more. So if this was your first time hearing and seeing me, thank you for tuning in and trusting me. If you have seen me before, what's up? I'm definitely going to be, doing these and just putting them out there for everyone to see. And if you have any comments or any suggestions, I am open to them too. And yeah, good luck in your job search, and just know that I am here whenever you need to just get a quick question answered. Okay, so I'll see you guys later and wishing you all best of luck.